This is Nelly's Magic Moments podcast, North Shore Invitational 2025. Nell Dog.
What's up, everybody? We are so stoked to be here on the North Shore. We are across from Keiki, and I'm here with one of my good friends, Mikey Bruneau, one of my favorite surfers, one of my favorite pipe surfers, someone I've traveled the world with, and it's just really good to have Mikey here. Yeah, right on, Nels. Thanks for having me, Joey. It's always a pleasure.
Nice to meet you, Mikey.
Good to meet you as well.
We're right on.
Yeah, so, like I said, we traveled the world together back in the day, and Mikey's from the Big Island. So how was it growing up on the Big Island, Mikey? Tell us a little story. Who we grew up with, CJ Kanuha, and like who was your crew over there? CJ and I actually went to the same preschool. We're in the same class together. So he's been one of my best friends since then. Just growing up on the Big Island too, there's not a whole lot of waves to choose from. So everyone kind of just congregates at our Banyans was our spot.
Yeah.
And just typical Groms growing up, rat pack, causing trouble, surfing all day, living off of $5, ices, slushies, a hot dog.
Yeah.
And
Pushing each other heavily, obviously. The smaller the crew, the harder you push each other, right?
yeah, it was cool. We always had like Shane Dorian and Conan Hayes to look up to. So these guys were always ripping out the back. Just growing up from Gromhood days, and then finally I made the move over here in 95, I think. I was only 12 years old. We moved over with my mom and my sister. Dad and brother stayed on the Big Island. So I still went back and forth quite a bit all the time. But then that's when I kind of started to see the North Shore.
Yeah. I met you a few years after that, but not too long after that. I remember your grommet hood and you were ripping, and I was always tripping because you were really good at pipeline, but you were also really good at everywhere else, like the small wave ripping, seeing some of my favorite turns that you do is like some of those tail blows and some of that stuff we shot for XL back in the day. Some of that was slicey.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was sick, dude. Remember, I think we got a 2-page XL ad of me wearing a full suit in Indo.
But it was Nintendo-wise. Water was like 95, and he's out there in a full suit, blowing tail in my face. That was so sick. Hey, taking a step back though makes me think about like your this sport in general. I always compare it when I'm talking with Nelly to other sports and how people basically practice their sport. And let's say it's basketball or baseball, you got to get to a field, you got to be in a travel team, this is backyards. This is a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing to me that to elevate your sport, you're living in a culture, and basically you're waiting for Mother Earth to do its thing, and then the field and or the basketball courts kind of in that comparison is open.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. It's not like with any other thing, skating, basketball, football, you got the fields, you got the court, you got the ramps. So kind of when the waves come, it's just kind of like it really brings everybody together as a community.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of, and then you're also out there, and every single day, every single moment, a Saturday is elevating your game.
I love it
because of who you're basically just palling around with or going to school with. It's a different environment. Like the question I had also kind of doing a tiny bit of homework was, growing up in Santa Cruz, it's not a borrowed culture, but it's a secondary culture. The difference in basically surfing here on any level, it almost feels from an outsider's standpoint, feels a little more spiritual, a little more connected. And that's even me growing up in Santa Cruz, California.
Okay. Yeah. Totally. I would have to agree completely. It's just really got that whole cultural, spiritual. We respect the place, and just are super grateful to be able to have this resource and enjoy it amongst all our friends and family and all the travelers as well. It's it's just culturally rich. You can get to see.
Is it talked about like in the water, or is it just kind of is it more kind of like an immersive experience?
Yeah, I don't think it's really discussed like per se too often, but anyone who knows, has the feeling, has the respect, and you get it.
That's one of my favorite things too, Mikey, is everyone surfs here. you know, and that doesn't mean everyone's surfing. They count surfing as stand-up paddling. They count it canoeing, outrigger, boogie boarding. It doesn't matter. It's surfing here.
Okay, gotcha.
You're a waterman here, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, it's just such a beautiful part of the culture here where it's kind of the center point of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Being a water person, you know what I mean? And at least for the majority. And I love that about Hawaii where, you know, that's not necessarily the case in Santa Cruz, you know? There's a lot of people who live in Santa Cruz who don't have nothing to do with the ocean.
No doubt about it.
And, you know, I've traveled to other places like France and Australia too, where it's similar, where like everybody who lives on the coast, they surf or
Right.
boogie board or jet ski.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's just it's a different way of life, you know what I mean? Yeah. So Mikey, how's the family? Tell me.
Family is excellent. Kids are growing like weeds. My house is never clean. Ever.
How many kids now? 5?
6.
6 kids now.
6.
You just had twins, right?
Yes, we've mom wanted a girl, and so we went for it. We got her. She came, but she came with a twin brother.
So Vanessa's glowing. I just saw her the other night, and she was just, I've never seen her look happier. And that's Mikey's wife. And
Okay, gotcha.
And name off your other kids just for the...
So I have, my oldest son is River. He's 21.
Yeah.
He's doing his own thing, adult. He's killing it. He's doing well. Then at home, I have Frankie. Mike is 13. Then I got Mike James is 11. Colton 8. Luca is 5. And then we have the twins, Jackson and Isabella.
And they're like a year, right?
And they're a year, almost a year and a half. Yeah, let's get in there. Yeah, I think 14.
That was cool. He just came into he just let me hold him the other night and just was cruising like
That's amazing.
Oh, it's my uncle.
Uncle Nelly. Uncle Nelly, right to it. He just jumped right in your arms too.
Yeah.
The thing that I was kind of thinking about also is like transitioning there is like overall, Nelly and I always kind of have conversations about like that, the athletic mindset, sort of like the mindset of like whether it even be like, you know, before you go out, when you're in the water, you know, getting in the correct mindset or riding big waves.
Yeah. So everybody always, there's some guys who are animals and they train all day long and they're top shape. But for the most part, anyone who's out there trying to ride the pipe, Waimea, outer reefs, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone's pretty tip top shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What mental preparation do you do? Or you just charge?
It's just kind of like risk assessment. I'll be like talking to myself in my head about the preparation of all that. Like, just for the most part, I'm pretty confident in my skill and my knowledge of what's going on. And then just basically running, swimming, breath holds, all of those kind of things too.
Right.
And surfing a lot, right? And surfing a lot. That's actually my main thing. Is I just try to surf as
repetition,
much as,
like literally muscle memory stuff.
Yeah. But then there's not always waves. So when you're not surfing, then that's when I start training a lot more. But surf season, I'm kind of just trying to surf as much as I can.
So today you just surfed Rockies, right? How was that?
It was kind of pumping. It was pretty good.
I think we've had a little bad run of winds. And today, all of a sudden, it switched around and just buttered up into just buttercup world.
Amazing.
Oh, this looks like dreamland out there right now. It's just straight offshore.
And it's funny because we got here, did nothing but set up. I haven't even taken a peek yet. I haven't even looked out there yet, you know, as far as that goes.
You won't even recognize it from yesterday. We'll get completely different.
Be sure you get out there and take a peek.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, it's right there. We've been out there, you know, as far as that goes.
So who was out, Mikey?
Kind of just all the regular Groms. I say Groms are not really Groms anymore though, but like Kalani Rivero, Maconapang, Barron. Guys are good. They're getting drained. There's barrels left, Sandrights. It was good fun. Oh, I saw a bunch of the San Clemente crew too. Griffin and Cade, I think Jet. But yeah, the waves were going off. It was firing sick. Waves were sick. Yeah.
Nelly talks a little bit about, you know, you're talking about Volcom, talking about all of that. Like, you've been in it long enough now. Is like, overall, like, what is your impression of the change in, I guess, in the business culture of it over a period of time? Have you seen a dramatic change in sort of the business of surfing?
Well, yeah, I feel like back in my day, there's B, C grade guys that are making a good living still.
Yeah.
So whereas now I feel like it's gonna be you got to be one of the top guys to make a decent living, and so that's kind of changed. But I'm have other incomes.
Right.
I do real estate, and my wife and I have a couple other things going on as well. So I'm not really as involved as I used to be, obviously. But I still see it, and I feel like we're stoked. I was lucky because we had a pretty good.
We had a good era. Yeah, it was like the butter era.
There's no
Everyone had a shoe sponsor. Oh, I have a sunglass sponsor. Everyone, the checks were coming from everywhere.
Yeah. Everybody was speeding on the culture at that point. Yeah. And for me, now the little bit off left-hand turn here, real estate on the islands, this is just me not knowing. Does that mean that you broker like on all islands, or is it just Oahu, or how's that work?
I could do all islands, but it's mostly Oahu.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Island wide for sure.
How's that been? What's the real estate market over here? Just an interesting kind of like take on that.
Yeah, it's it's definitely simmering off right now.
Yeah.
But with real estate, everything up and down,
Yeah.
and it kind of went so crazy high.
COVID kind of time.
Yeah, exactly. COVID time just spiked
Yeah.
everything, and then it kept going for a while, and the last year it's definitely sizzled, leveled off a little bit and started to come down
Right.
even a tad.
Right.
But it's still crazy high.
No, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think for that one, it's I think in a lot of ways from what I've seen, because we actually do a couple shows with real estate brokers, and it kind of mimics California a little bit as far as the peaks and valleys. It seems to kind of be in the same sort of pattern as California, as far as the highs and lows, the rental market and all that different kind of the way it goes a little bit.
Absolutely.
How long have you been doing it?
About five and a half years now.
Just jump to it for some stability. You just figured like I know people and I'm comfortable.
Over him. I have my stepdad's a realtor, and I have
right on.
referred him a couple people, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So your surf crew over in the Big Island, I love that crew, by the way. Your Casey Brown, Tonino Benson,
Yep.
Kanuha,
Mike
legend, biggest, funniest character ever. But let's talk a little bit about your surf crew here on Oahu now. Like, because I noticed for me in Santa Cruz, my surf crew shrank. And it's like, just to get someone to go surf with me is like, it's probably not as easy as it is here. But like, what's your crew like here? Like, who is your crew, or do you just mainly surf by yourself?
I'm pretty much solo guy always, because, and the number one reason is I have a window you go surfing, and as soon as that window is open, it starts to close.
That's what.
So I don't have any time to wait for anyone to screw their fins in, to change into their trunks, to look for their wax, because I just go at my own pace. And that's the main reason, because I got to get home to the kids. Yeah. But I do occasionally, I'll mission down. I still will surf with Flynn sometimes, and Moody. Well, I'll do little missions down there, Daniel Jones as well. But 98% of the time I'm going solo.
And there, part of that is there some
freedom in that, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some serenity and bliss in that also. Like,
go as you please, go when you want. You're not waiting for anyone. And then we're always seeing each guys in the water.
Right.
We're all friends out there, so that's cool. You're still chatting it up out there when you're waiting for waves and stuff.
Yeah.
For the nature of this audience, so it's also kind of one we roll through on this podcast, is it's so hard, I know, but do you have a singular like memorable wave? Is there one that lives at an apex in your life?
That's a good question. I have maybe 4 of them.
Well, we got time. Let's go.
But my goal.
Are they all pipeline?
Yes.
How? I love that.
But my main goal still, I'm 42. I just turned 42. But my main goal is that I want to have one.
That's what I guess is the question.
And I haven't gotten it yet.
That's amazing then, right? So that's there. So it's a white whale, as they say in the literary world. It's out there still.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's my favorite, because you're still striving for that wave that's gonna like be the wave probably for the rest of your life, right?
I really hope so. I want to have like, that was the wave of my life. I have like 4 right now where I was like, oh, which one was better? And they're good. I'll take one of those anytime again for sure. But it would be nice to just be like, that was the one.
Is it unknown? Will you not know the one till it's the one? Or do you kind of like, if I'm a visualization guy when I coach football and kind of my life a little bit, do you know what that wave's going to feel and look like in your mind? Or is the one have a shape? or is it just
I got an idea of what it's looking like, and if I get it, and I'll know as soon as the wave is over,
right?
instantly.
Yeah.
If that was it or not. But
Where do you think it's going to be at? Like Desert Point? Or are you thinking it's going to be a Pipe? Or
Pipe.
a few years ago you were psyching on Mavericks. Like, have you gotten a bomb at Mavs yet?
I've gotten a pretty good sized wave at Mavs for sure. I don't know if the boys would call it a bomb. I thought it was a bomb.
Yeah.
But I've got a few fun. I love Mavs. It's insane. What a sick wave.
it's funny, we just had Alo Sliber on, and he was talking about, he caught one, and I think his description of it was similar to what you're talking about. He was using descriptive words that he said on the podcast. He'd never felt underneath him on a board. He'd never felt the feeling of, like, I think he described it as like basically riding sandpaper and being pulled backwards. But he knew he was in it, and he was on it, and he was in the moment. And, he talked about a healthy amount earlier in the podcast about proper fear and things like that. But in that moment, I think he described being in that moment, and sort of just committing.
And he actually said he wasn't scared in that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Yeah.
On that,
I was scared
wave,
listening to him. Dude,
on that
skim.
mega wave
Yeah.
that he caught. Dude, that is wild.
It's wild. And I guess my point is, like, he's talking about the proper amount of preparation and fear, but then you get on a wave that, again, everybody, I know there's the controversies and things like that as far as, but by any metric now that time's gone by, it's 100-something foot wave, because it's just the way it goes. But I think he got a sense of calm in the moment.
He was probably just on autopilot.
Totally.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And then I guess the other one I always like to ask here, from, I guess, just a human condition standpoint, what's the gnarliest position you've ever been in? Do you have a singular moment where you were like, this is, or
Yeah, I do actually. And that one is like one that stands out.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Easier than the one that hasn't existed is the one that happened.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story.
Right on.
Maybe you
Share
ever,
it. Let's
you ever-
share it.
it's
I got another story right after you're done.
So there was the day Bruce won the Eddie. So the waves were big.
Yeah.
It was giant. I don't even remember what year that was. 2008 maybe. Yeah. And we're out towing, and I'm like over psyching. It's oil glass and 30 feet, and I'm like throwing the rope out, throwing my board out, dive in, forgot to put my vest on, and I was like, let's go. Very first wave, started towing in, and I let go of the rope, going, holy shit, it's gonna be the wave of my life.
Yeah.
It was just 20 plus feet. I don't know. It was big wave, lining up, looking like pipeline. And I started bottom turning, and I was like, holy shit, it's going to barrel. And I just straight, and I was like, oh, I'm not pulling in. And I went straight, and the lip hit me basically right here. And I'll never forget, it like pile drive me down and then up. And I was up in the air, like 15 feet in the air, rolling up the windows.
Oh no.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Donuts, pounded, wetsuit top gone. And that's right when I noticed, oh shit, I didn't put my vest on because my wetsuit top got ripped off. Just like a pounding you can imagine on a 20-foot barreling wave. It was like, is this pretty, no, a little further down.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Any spot.
No, I love that's the funnest part about, like, getting to know this culture more. Like, I surfed and skated as a kid, but getting to know Nelly, I'm sort of on the outside looking in, and it's amazing. But that's the common denominator. There's a lot of shit's not said on this podcast exactly where you were. Nelly won't tell you where he shot. We'll never know that story exactly where it was, because that's what, again, that goes back to your bliss moment.
Yeah.
You can't have that if everybody's there.
Oh, that's right.
So what happened after that, Mike?
Yeah.
So then I just got pounded. I remember coming up, being like, okay, I got through that, and then seeing literally the biggest wave I've ever seen. And my partner, Justin Lambert, Aaron Lambert's brother, Justin Lambert at the time was my partner, and he was flying it, riding this wave, trying to outrun it, not looking for me. He thought I was, and we just talked about before, try to ride to the end of the wave, I'll pick you up there. But he didn't know I fell. So he was gone, riding the hugest wave ever, and I'm waving at him, come get me. And he's gone. And then I look, and I'm just like, okay, here we go, real deal. And then same thing, just blowing up, annihilated. I took a couple more on the head. Then I'm kind of treading water, and I'm looking, and I can see him looking for me like another 400 or 500 yards down there. I can just see him buzzing around, and I'm treading water, and there's no waves now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not waiting for another set. I'm out of here. Head down, started swimming to the beach. I got a good shore. This is so heavy. He can't find me. It's 30 feet. I don't want to get sucked out to sea. So anyways, head down, start swimming to shore. There's more sets, and I just get kind of pummeled all the way to the beach. It went from like 30 feet to 20 feet to 15, 10, 12, like all the way. And then I finally get to the beach. I'm crawling up the beach and I'm puking up foam, and I'm like, I'm kissing the sand. I'm alive, dude. I got through this. And I'm hanging on. I'm like, ugh, foam's coming out of my mouth, and I'm just trying to survive and like try to regain myself and be like, breathe. I feel someone tugging on my shoulder. Are you okay? Are you okay? And he's pulling on my shoulder, and I turn over, and I washed up on the nude beach. It's a butt naked guy with his freaking cord just swinging in the wind, dude. I was in this nightmare. I was like, did I die or go to hell or something? What is going on?
Let's
I was like, I'm fine. Leave me alone. Get out of here. And so yeah, that one stood out. I almost died, and then I woke up on the beach to that, basically.
So Lambert, where was he? How did you guys find each
And
other?
then I just recovered on the beach for I don't know, 15, 20 minutes maybe, and then I like just stood up and started whistling and waving. I could see him, and then he came in and was like, "I thought you were dead." He found my wetsuit top floating, found my board.
Oh shit.
And then he was like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna have to tell his mom."
So he had to go through a whole moment. He had to go
Yes.
through whatever minutes of you're gone.
Totally. He didn't see him for that 20-minute period going, where the fuck is he? He's gone.
Because would he have known you did or did not have your vest on? Would he have known? He would have known. Because that could have been trippy in his mind, because he's not seeing. He knows if he's seeing.
My wetsuit top.
That's
So he's probably thinking, fuck his vest.
how gnarly was
this thing? That's going.
Did it change you? I guess here's the thing: is I'm a sports psychology, human psychology. It's almost like it's a weird comparison, but you get food poisoning from oysters. You got to get back on the oysters, kind of thing. Is that sort of it?
Yeah, I mean, we all go out there knowing the risks and the dangers, and it's part of it.
It is.
It's just standard.
Yep.
And you damn well know that something like that can happen. My thing, every time we go out on the ski, or if we paddle out on big boards, whatever, my thing is if the ski breaks, can you swim in? If the answer is no, you're not coming on my jet ski with me.
Right.
And then it's same thing when you're surfing. If my leash breaks, am I going to be able to swim in? So that's kind of basic number one rule, especially like the lifeguard background.
Yeah.
It's like, because a lot of times, like, you see guys out there when it's big, and there's like people like just on a jet ski sit on the back, and it's safe and it's fun and it's okay until you suck something up and the jet ski's dead.
Yeah.
And then you're like looking at the girl on the back of your jet ski. I see guys do it all the time. We're like, we're swimming in. And so that kind of trips me out a little bit. I just want to, like, always everyone to know safety aspect. Like, you got to be able to be confident in, I can swim in.
Yeah.
And then again, too, on top of that, I might be confident that I can swim in. If you get in the wrong rip, though, you might not be swimming in. So you got to like know how to try to get out of those rips, or if you got to tread,
Serve some energy too.
exactly. You might be swimming for hours if you have to swim to a safer beach down the way, whatever it may be.
Right.
It's kind of just always generally we're thinking like this may happen.
Yeah.
Serious.
I have one I have one more little nugget with that. It's and it's more just a thought as you're talking about it. I'm kind of tripping because what you're talking about is sort of like the end result is that moment, but it's almost like any kind of business or human relationship is all the work has to go in before it. Like the infrastructure of being able to, surfing the wave is its own moment and its own skill set. But it's kind of funny. You're basically telling me you got to have your shit together before you now that would be charging a wave, or it could be launching a business or whatever it is. You can't just rush to the end result. There's a lot of work that goes in.
Preparation.
Yeah. Like crazy amount of preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mikey and I, we did a dream trip, or we had a dream trip years and years ago to Indonesia. And as the trip came closer and closer, we saw that there was just this mega swell. I mean, it was 3 huge swells merging together right underneath Indonesia, and it was a mega swell. And so we went out there. We had like the thickest trip ever. They took us way out there, the very outskirts of the Mentawai Island chain, and we scored the swell out there. We got just ridiculous barrels at the hole and these other zones. I don't even remember some of the spots' names, but the swell was just firing. And then we went back into like the main part of the island chain, and we got to see, or we saw how big the swell really was.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of missing up there in the top of the chain. Even though we were scoring like stand-up barrels and stuff, it wasn't anything near what was happening down in the bottom of the chain.
Right.
So we got down there, we were driving by a couple of these spots, and it was just ginormous. You remember like driving by bat caves and like all these, we were just like, whoa, like, I guess we're in the heart of the swell now, you know? So we rolled up to HT's or Lance's Rights, and we rolled up, and there's like an 8-footer just spit its guts out, like as perfect as a wave as I've ever seen. And there was no one there. Not one boat in the channel, no one around, not one person on the beach. We were just like, whoa. Like,
no one surfing, nothing. Nobody anywhere.
And so I started panicking and loading up my water housing, and Mikey was frothing, and our other friend Mike Dodd was out too, was psyching too, and we just jumped in the dinghy. Like, we didn't even watch it for 1 second. And
out there, straight out there.
Yeah. Mikey jump off the boat. I throw my fins on, jump off the boat. Within like 3 minutes, Mike Dodd got this crazy wave. Thing just tripled up, standing straight up in the barrel with his arms above his head like this. We hooked up perfectly in the barrel. I was like, oh my God, this is like fake. This is so perfect. It's like crazy.
Hollywood movie set shit.
I look in, Mikey had gotten clamped, and his board, like half of his board went shooting up in the air, and he got thrown into the lagoon across the reef. So then it was just me and Bruni Baker here.
Out the back.
And I turn around and we're just like high-fiving, and all of a sudden the whole ocean just went black. And I'm like, uh-oh, like what? And Mikey's like, come on, Nels, come on, outside, Nels. And I'm like, I like swam up to the top of the first wave. And I like saw like, I don't know, 14 or 15 like huge black lines coming in. And I was like, oh my God. I swam to the bottom of the second one, and it like exploded on my feet and pushed me out the back of the wave like a dolphin. It was like a explosion off the reef. And I'm like, oh my God, it was so powerful. It was like gnarly. I was like, by this point I was
real deal.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was nuts.
I look out, Mikey's scratching. He's like 15 yards further out than me. And I'm like, oh my God, like the second wave caught me. Almost, you know what I mean? Almost ripped my fins off.
Yeah.
They just kept coming.
And they just kept coming. And I was just like, I've never swam so hard in my life. And so then I got pounded on a couple. Mikey made it over them. And then we were way, way outside where it like rolls in off the thing. And all of a sudden the current came, because when those waves come like that,
yeah,
it all goes into this keyhole, and then all comes back out the keyhole into a huge rip.
Starts flooding.
So we were getting sucked around the reef. Remember all this, Mikey?
I do.
I was shitting. He was borderline, like
he was just sharding. He was sharding.
He was not shitting. Like
Oh, I had a board as well. And like I knew we were far enough. I made it over that whole set, but I remember paddling, like scratching my ass off, going, holy shit. It was like 10, 12 feet.
Yeah, like
Hawaiian.
Can you, I always catch the little kind of words in there. And the one you said was, and we talk about it all the time, but this is your relationship with Nelly, is, you know, that whole thing, the moment, and you yelling, come on, Nelly. Because here's the weird thing about your lifestyle and your thing is like, yes, you talk about those bliss moments. Yes, you talk about that solidarity, but you can be on that wave. You can tell an amazing story to a couple people, but it's really nice to get that image, right? Your relationship with not only Nelly, but your relationship as a surfer here with Nelly, because this is his podcast, but also that whole thing about them documenting these moments that you talk about, it's different than a lot of other sports.
Oh yeah, right. Because I mean, we were fearing for our lives in that moment.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. But still, it's still like in that moment, it's not just about that moment. It's like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Because you want both things to connect. You want this life-threatening moment. There's still a priority. Let's document this shit. Right?
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back to the story,
Back to the story.
Yeah.
because it's not over yet.
Oh, shit. Shit. I thought you were winding down.
So now by this time we're getting ripped around the backside of the reef, basically towards Lance's left area. Not nowhere near that, but like in that direction.
Yeah.
And we're in the rip and we're waving and we look over and the boat is dry docked. Our yacht, we're on a super yacht out there in the Mento Eyes
Right.
that this company rented for
Yeah.
us that I was shooting for and he was riding for. And it's dry docked on the reef because the set was so big, it sucked all the water out of the keyhole. And they were panicking, right? And I'm screaming at the guy who's driving the dinghy, at this point. I'm like, come get us. And it was just hectic. So they had to like back the yacht off this is like razor sharp coral.
Yeah. Yep.
And like, luckily that guy grabbed the dinghy and came and got us because we were headed towards somewhere else in the ocean. The currents out in Indo are like some of the gnarliest ones I've ever had to fight,
It's just so funny. Again, I keep on coming back to it, but I really enjoy hearing those stories because it's and I do this all the time. It's like I always compare because I see you guys at such high level athletes. It's the highest level I've seen. But a lot of other sports, you drop a pass, you miss a basket, you strike out, you walk back to the dugout. But this story, it's fucking massive consequences. It's so weird because it is truly, it's not only what you do because it's what you would do if there was no camera there. It's what you would do if you didn't have that logo on your hat, right? That's just the rad part of it. But it's these consequences that you have associated with this thing that you're doing. I think that makes it singular and unique and when you share it together, we both survived that shit.
Right. And I feel like that's a big part of like what keeps us coming back.
Yeah.
It's like
The risk reward.
It totally like it's
And the bond, right?
Yeah.
And the bond, yeah.
that's cool.
So if you were, are we done?
We're done. Well,
That fucking was amazing. And I'm hoping for more now. I'm hoping you got back to the boat and you beat the shit out of somebody or something.
no, we got back to the boat and we were high-fiving and just like, you're all serious. Just like, oh yeah. The other guys that were on the boat trip with us that didn't go out were laughing. Yeah, and they were like, dude, that was gnarly.
That was heavy.
Basically, you get in those scenarios and when you come out the other side, it's like,
Well, let's finish this story though, because there is another part for me from an outside looking in. Is like, so you're back in, you get now the energy sitting around that computer, uploading those images. There's the anticipation, like it's almost like there's that Polaroid and you're blowing on it, trying to get the image to come out. You know what's on there. How fast do you get to it? And how stoked is everybody just around you waiting to see you upload that shit?
From that particular session, Mikey Dodd, I think, got the only wave.
Yeah.
Okay. With like a huge stand-up.
But all if
We hooked up perfectly.
I see.
And then that set hit. And the next thing I know, survival, I will swim for my life.
Yeah, I got you.
Like
All right.
Mikey said, he had a board. So he's probably, it was different for me. I was a victim of whatever the ocean wanted to do. Like there was no battling that current. You know what I mean? And
Even
without the dinghy coming, I would have probably had to just take a huge set on the head and
swim to the shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I would have never got back to the boat that way, just swimming, not in that current.
And that's all that's going through your head right now is potential outs, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's all you've got is those potential outs.
Yeah. I mean, I was in some of the best shape of my life at that point too, like now I would have been deep trouble now.
Can you ride your bike down and get water?
Yeah.
Did you have anything queued up? I got a couple more.
Go.
The one I have is the cheesy one, but it's meaningful, especially after watching that concert last night. Is like, you're sitting there at 42 and you got some of these young Groms coming in and there's this next generation coming. Conversations you may already be having, like, is there something like, not you're still in the game, but you kind of have this obligation, like what do you tell the next generation? Like, do you have those conversations?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do tell the next generation just to hold it down and
Yeah.
keep things the way. I feel like it's definitely changed a heck of a lot since I was a Grom, that's for sure. There's a lot more kids out now trying to just come out to the peak. Not necessarily either. Everyone kind of knows their role. I just feel like there's
Just everyone, not
yeah, not everyone. That is true.
most people.
And a lot of times people like, I mean, it's the saying, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They creep, getting a little closer, a little closer. And so sometimes I tell the next generation, like, hey, you just got to this is the way it is. This is how we dealt with it. The people before us dealt with it. Like, you guys got to hold it down to like, there's got to be this pecking order, whether you're at Rockies, especially out at Pipe. Like, it's got to be, you earned your stripes out there. You should be able to get the waves that you want to get. And so I just try to tell the next generation, like, let's just keep it that way. You guys are eventually going to be in my shoes where you're the older guy and you're going to be like, hey, I put in all this time out here. I want this wave. I'm going on this thing. And the guys below you should respect that.
And it's so funny. We don't think about that. It's actually, you're right on point, because it's also getting more sophisticated. That whole concept of how do you hold down a tradition? And this is just the way the world's going right now with cameras and video and cancel culture and shit like that. Like growing up in Santa Cruz, it wasn't so much where you could and priorities where you could serve. You physically found out very fast where you shouldn't be. And you just moved down where you moved away. It's not for you yet. It's like you haven't earned your spot here yet, but times are changing that way a little bit, and so it is a little bit, it still exists to a certain extent, but it has to be maybe an earlier, more sophisticated conversation about how do you hold it down when those ways are more difficult or not acceptable to do anymore.
Well, yeah, totally. And like the whole, like, there's no fighting really anymore. It's not. Whereas when I was a kid,
There's no doubt.
got the point across, really.
That was it, right?
It's the heaviest pecking order in the world for sure.
There's no doubt.
Zero.
I can imagine. Yeah, I'm even talking about Santa Cruz. There was even growing up in Santa Cruz, if you got to where you wouldn't be, or you made a mistake in priority, and it doesn't matter if you're 13, 14, it's like more like a dog. You found out really fast. Don't go in that room.
That's different these days, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When I was a Grom, he didn't paddle out at Sewer Peak. I mean, it's just like out of the question.
No doubt.
You were not going out to Sewer Peak. I mean, now it's like, I'll go there one day. There'll be 45 guys out, and half of them will be 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14. It's like, what?
Yeah, same. Even VLAN. VLAN used to be gnarly, and now it's like all kids.
Yeah.
And which is cool to see. It is, as long as those kids stay in line and are cool and respectful and know the pecking order.
That's
and
exactly it.
And a lot of them don't. I have like, it's tough too, because they're all, majority of them are all super cool, good kids.
Yeah.
But you just let them know nicely, like, hey, dude, you know how long it took for me to come sit at the peak out at Pipe? Like, you need to go sit over there. I don't want to be a dick, Val. Like, why you gotta make me tell you?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the last one, we always ask this kind of, we fooled around with another podcast for a little bit, kind of working up to this one. And it's not narrowed down to one thing, but to get to the level you're at, to basically have the success you've had, like this is the TED Talk kind of part of it. Is there anything you feel like you do on a daily or weekly basis that elevates you in your sport? Do you have like a practice, like, let's say you're in front of other people, like, this is one little hint I would give you to be great at, doesn't have to be surfing, it could be anything. Do you have anything like that?
No, I just try to be healthy and try to stay fit, and just, I don't have anything like exact pinpoint, but
like do this and that will kind of translate to that.
If you put in the work, you see all these guys who are in the gym and putting in that work, and you're seeing the results. Whereas I feel like I'm kind of just more surfing, but my goals have changed, have definitely shifted from surfing. I still love surfing, is my life. I love everything about it. I want to pass it on to my kids, and my kids are starting to get super into it, and I love going with them. So it's kind of it's shifted a little bit away from just to trying to be successful with my family. I want to always have a good time with my kids. I want them to, essentially, like, my goal in life is to have my kids be like, oh, my dad did a good job.
Yeah, and I think that's funny because I've got 3 of my own. That's an interesting kind of pivot. I like that conversation because here's the thing. The trippy thing about that is like I think you kind of circle around, you find the same answer in that. I think the fundamentals of what you're talking about, being connected, being present with your kids, doing that part of it. It's like I never think of things specifically A to B. I take that like, well, that's just you're talking about your kid, but then I take that same A to B conversation. I go, I wonder how that would work in my business.
Okay.
I wonder if I was more like, I want to be, I want to make time and be, again, use that word present and be basically accessible and have my kids feel agency, even in a father-daughter, father-son relationship. You still are going to be, it's almost like we talked about that priority. You have that with your kids. There's a time where you've earned your spot in this family.
Yeah.
And it ain't at 8, it ain't at 10. You kind of work your way. But I like to think about those conversations sometimes because this is why I love this question because it's some people are like, I do this. I meditate every day. I think Zoe Chait was like she gets in a mental state, for her to go out at Mavs. She's young. She's 17, 18, charging Mavs. Zoe, right?
You know Zoe?
I do. I've met her a few times.
He's the best.
Amazing.
Cool.
There's no way you're talking to that kid at 17 and I'm sitting there. She's in a lot of ways, she's more mature than I am. But what we were talking about, Nelly, is this question. It's expansive in a way because he's talking about, nothing very specific other than, like he said, preparation, staying in shape, but his priorities have shifted. But that, I guess here's the long-winded question, which I'm good at, is do you think that part of it, being a parent and kind of the patience and slowing down with your kids, has it made you a better surfer in a way?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe actually. I never really,
Surf pipe, you're definitely locked in.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
But with the question, thinking about it, I do feel like, again, back to that window I have. So
Yeah.
I only have so big of a window to surf where I really want to get quality waves and not waste my time with whatever. It's quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, in that aspect, yeah.
Yeah, it's rad.
So
Yeah. And we get older. We, they say our brains don't even develop till we're 26 or 27 as far as like future consequences, things like that. And a lot of times if you're in a sport like yours, or I think of somebody even jumping over to like a Steph Curry that keeps himself together, that he can still perform at a 21-year-old level. But what he's got now is he's got his body in shape, the nutrition on point, but he's also got his 38-year-old mind around the game.
right.
That's the thing as I see guys like you is like you have this knowledge and like if you had the knowledge with, in by keeping yourself in shape, let's say you could gift your knowledge at 42 to your 24-year-old self, you'd fucking be, you'd be so far ahead. And a lot of people, they just let themselves go. And at 42, it's like, God damn, if I was still in shape, but you're in shape, you got the logo on your head and you have experience.
Uh-huh.
Kind of amazing.
And he's about to sell a house in Wailua in a minute.
I
How
hope.
is that thing? Should it be one I'm worried about or what?
Nah, not one you're interested in.
I saw one at Laia Point that looked pretty, man.
Oh, recently one? I did. That thing is pretty. Let me know. Let's go see it.
I'm gonna have to go look. In case he's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Nice. Let me know.
The land of milk and honey.
How many guys you know at your level that are real estate agents? Not many? Or is there a few guys doing it?
In Hawaii, I think the Hobgoods do it.
Okay.
And I feel like there's quite a few.
It's a cool angle. I mean, I got to tell you, it's you're sitting picking between realtors.
Yeah. Well, and as surfers too, like, a lot of people.
That's exactly it.
And then we're on the North Shore, and so we know surfers who want to move here, and there's a lot of surfers who have money and can buy houses.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So there actually is there's a pretty solid group of surfer realtors for sure around.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, everybody's cool. Everyone gets along well.
I'm out of questions now, Doug.
That's good. I think Mikey's got to go anyways, but thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, super Al. Thank you guys.
This was great. Yeah, this is really nice.
Everybody sharing.
I appreciate it. I've really good times.
Say hi to Am. You give a big hug.
I will. Same too.
Hey, we balanced out the scratches the last 30 minutes. We'll fix the first part. Thanks, boys.
Okay, cool. Right on, guys.